a little mullet going on. Nice. Hi, I'm Olivia. I'm the Witch of Wonderlust here on YouTube and on Instagram, and I've got an amazing guest for you today, Alexis Jackson, also known as Ajay. She is a spiritual healer, a singer, and the owner of The Glamour Witch. You can find her here on YouTube, on Instagram, and on TikTok, and she has her own website if you want to find any of her services there. And of course, all of those things are going to be linked down below. We plan to do this interview way back in August, so I'm really excited to share this with you. We're gonna go straight into the interview, grab yourself a cup of tea or something to drink, grab yourself a snack, and hang out for a while.
This is Leo. Leo, can you say hi? Yes, Leo's a talking cat.
Yeah, not to be dramatic, but I would die for your cat.
Yeah, I would die for you too, right, buddy? He's probably going to be talking and interjecting throughout.
I don't think anybody's going to be upset about this.
Yeah, he's my little Salem.
Oh my God.
Much louder.
I'm still very not Zoom literate, so.
Girl, yeah, me neither. Until the lockdown happened, I was like, what the hell is Zoom? Like, so complicated. And then like trying to have multiple people in one room and everyone's talking at the same time. It's just like a crazy.
Yeah, and then it just gets silent and you see all these mouths moving and you're like.
Exactly.
So,
sometimes I forget that people can see me in the Zoom and I just start like moving around in the space and I'm like, oh snap.
Yeah, like doing your own thing and.
Right, exactly.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to record if I do this? Oh, see, I'm a YouTuber, but I'm not techie, so I'm trying to like record my audio separately so that it can like be better audio.
Right. Yeah.
We'll see how it works.
I was gonna plug in my mic too, but I was like, maybe that's doing too much. Is it clear? Like, does the sound?
I don't know. I had like one or two people be like, the audio is really bad, and I'm like, well, it's Zoom audio. Like, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to fly out to them during a pandemic? And
right.
Like, yes. Sit with me in the same room, maskless.
Yes.
Risk your life for the YouTube.
Exactly. Well, I mean, they're just gonna have to deal with it. That's it.
Yeah. So I start off all my interviews asking how you got into the practice because that's one of the most common questions. So what's your story with that?
So how I started the practice was like I kind of always had like a spiritual gift, and like that's a lot of people say like they've always kind of had the spiritual gift. But I grew up in a very religious home where that was not like. No one explained to me what was going on. Nobody explained to me that what was happening to me was okay. So I really like worked a majority of my life till I was like probably 19, hiding my psychic abilities and my mediumship. I grew up in a haunted house and I like had a lot of experiences. Like, yeah, like, so, you know, when you're a kid and like you're seeing things and no one's explaining, you're thinking you're crazy. So I never really like acknowledged it. And then when I like moved out of my parents' house and like came to Los Angeles, I kind of renounced all spirituality. I was like, no, nothing's real. I don't care. Like, I'm just going to live my life for me. And that really like backfired on me because I like lost like 4 or 5 people in like a month's time. And I was like, okay, well, where the hell did they go? You know, like I know like that I can communicate with them because they were coming to me and like talking to me, but I just didn't understand anything. And because I had rejected all spiritual practices, I was really struggling. So one of my friends I went to college with invited me over to her house to meet her mom. And apparently her mom was a shaman and I didn't know this. So she's like giving me a tour around the house or whatever. And there's this like back area where apparently they do their like sessions. And I didn't know that because I didn't know anything about that. And they walk in ahead of me and I walk in and it was like electricity like jolted my body.
Oh, I just got chills. I was like, ooh.
Like, I was like, and I began to cry like I was an infant again, like I was a child. And everything that I had been holding on to my entire life, like just like the dam just got ripped open. I like fell to the floor. I couldn't even come into the room. And after I was like done like having a crying spell, her mom like picked me up and she explained to me that the room was at a certain vibrational frequency and that I was vibrating lower because I was holding on to this energy. And so what happens is when people come into the room, it makes them shed these things. So she kind of explained it, and I was like, what does that mean? Like, I was like kind of freaked out by it and afraid to go into the room again. And so then I went back into the room, and immediately I felt this like peace that I'd never felt in my entire life. And I was so eager to understand like what was going on. So from that point on, every time I would come over to her house every weekend, and she would teach me about crystals, and she would teach me about meditation and ancient like Indian and Native American practices and so many things. We did spells for the full moon, and she kind of like kick-started that for me. And then like she was like, okay, now go. Like, now go figure it out for yourself. And from that point forward, I like, you know, my Aquarius brain just like nerded out and like got every book I possibly could get, trying to find every metaphysical shop in Los Angeles that, you know, I could find, and meet people who like knew about the practice. And it kind of was just like transformed. And I'm a singer and an actress and a performer as well. So, you know, it was like trying to find a way to incorporate the magic in, you know, like school, and also like getting auditions and like seeing the success happen over and over and over again. It was like, oh my gosh. And all these questions that I had about life were being answered by this practice. And I was like, I figured it.
I broke the code. I did it.
Yes. I was like so happy. And it's just kind of like taken over my life in like the best possible way. And it's allowed me to stand in my power as a healer and as a, you know, as a practitioner, but also like as a musician and an artist, like coming into an industry that has so many people who are wounded and who have so much trauma that is unresolved, and who are seeking to resolve that trauma by the attention that they get from the industry. And so it was like, it almost felt like very intentional by the spirit, by the universe, for me to do that work first before I like kind of jump started my career as an artist. So that's the long-winded explanation.
Okay, but that's a cool ass story. Like, I want one of those rooms.
I know. That room is insane. And so I found out later that that actually is Shaman Durek's house, or I don't think he lives there anymore, but he's like a well-known like celebrity shaman here in Los Angeles. And I didn't know who he was at the time, but it was actually his house. So I was like,
That explains a lot.
just walked in like so casually, like not knowing that I was gonna get my whole thing rocked. Like just destroyed me. So
I don't know how I would handle that. Like, that sounds.
it was.
I don't. Yeah, I'm glad that you understand what. Because I was like, I don't know the words. Like, I was.
It was another type of trauma. Like the trauma of that was like another.
I want to say like pivotal, but that's like not at all the degree of like.
Yeah, way more intense than that. And I like when I say electricity, because it really did feel like that, because it was like all the cells and everything in my body like finally woke up, and I remembered who I was again. And it required me to like release all of the programming and all the things that have like been like holding me back up until that point. Not that there was not work that needed to be done after that, but I had to shed it. And I literally was crying like I was a baby. Like it was a sound I'd never even heard myself make before. So it was like truly like this like portal that I had just like, you know, like stepped into. And I was like, no. It was a little death. I died a little bit. So I could be the person that I am now. So
yeah, that sounds heavy. But also like that's one of those experiences is, you know, like you can't explain that with what we have now, like what we believe that we can't explain in this moment. Like you can't explain it with that. So that, I mean, that makes total sense why you were like, I need to know.
Yeah.
So what does that lead you into now then? Like what does that look like for you as your practice daily or just in general?
So I mean, I'm kind of like, I guess in the community they call it like an eclectic witch, meaning that I really don't like necessarily like cling to one specific practice. I kind of just find things in different cultural understandings that make sense to me, and that also I feel led by, there's Leo, that I feel led and inspired by. But mostly it's like hoodoo practices, and I really am into Native American practices as well. But I mean, in my daily life, it's a lot of just like um, ancestor work and a lot of sigil magic, and just like a lot of work with crystals, like something I'm like super obsessed with. You can see behind this camera, you can see there's like too many crystals. Like I actually need to give a lot of these away. And just like candle magic. And that's like a big first step for a lot of people who are practicing, because it's kind of easy to start with, and and it's very effective. So yeah, I mean, whatever I feel called to, and I like being able to reach out to different things when one practice or one type of spell is not working, then I can shift over to chants, or I can go over to like mudras, or I can what I mean, and find something until I'm hitting the sweet spot and pulling that energy in.
Yeah. You mentioned something about using magic for, your performance arts and like auditions and things like that. I I've done that with my job when I was waitressing for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to know, and I was thinking about making a video about like all the spells and things that I used for that,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to know what that looked like in your artist and like your performance side.
Right. So for me, when I first started, it was really because I was in acting. I was in the acting conservatory at LACC Theater Academy, and at first you don't get to like be in any plays. You just kind of like pay your dues. But every once in a while, you'd be able to get performance. So really, what the spells were to, one, memorize my lines and never forget them, because that's embarrassing. And when I step out on stage, to like leave me like backstage and step into the character. So as
Oh,
soon as the lights hit me, to like transform. Where almost I didn't know the difference between like being on stage and like the real life of this character. So
yeah.
I would spend time writing backstories, and this is something that most actors do anyways, writing these backstories and then doing spells as the character, and like just like doing the work in that way. But then on the music side of it, I use the spells to, one, if I'm having writer's block, I'll do sigils for that. And then also, like, if I'm having trouble kind of understanding what I want this song to do, I'll pull cards. Sometimes spirit is like, okay, well, this is the direction you need to go. Like, you need to stand more in like confidence, or talk more about the heartbreak, and like use it in that way. And it really has informed me. Like, my last album that I released last year was like all from the power of like magic, and like pushing
Yes.
myself forward, pushing myself in the studio, having confidence enough to perform it, doing magical spells on myself before I go on stage, not just how I look, but also like the energy that pours out of me and seeps into the audience while I'm performing, to like grab people's attention so they're listening intently
Yes.
to what it is that I'm singing. And then afterwards, like, to like leave them a little like high a little bit afterwards, like, oh wow, like that was a sad song, but I'm like really feeling good. So like always like creating this atmosphere, like every time I go on, people are like, oh, this is gonna be a little like boost for the night, no matter what it is that she's singing. So like creating like a differentiation between all the other singers. They may be talented, they may be great, but they're not gonna come with that same magical,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know,
Make it spicy.
exactly, a little
Just a
sprinkle over
little
the
bit.
top.
That's such I love that. I know that I don't have coffee today. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I love when people put it into kind of like the mundane thing, right? I mean, like that's kind of the whole point.
Right.
But to know that, I mean, like you've done this for a while now, so you know your results and like your go-tos and things. And like when you have that one thing that you're like, oh shit, that works,
Mm-hmm.
and you're able to use it continuously, that's like a totally different, like it's almost kind of like you have this craft or like you have this like thing under your sleeve that like works.
Yeah.
So you don't have any issue of like, oh, I can go on stage. I know they're gonna love this.
Yeah.
Like, and I know that it's gonna leave an impression. They're gonna walk away with something that like they needed or something, or like that little boost or
Exactly.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is like that whole sense of just empowerment and confidence and
Yeah.
like just trust in yourself. And I think that is like one of the things that people seem to take for granted a lot of the time in the craft of like, oh, well, I can do all of these things. Like look at all the things that I can do, or I can look at all the things that I can know. But
Right.
it's kind of like that being able to just be like, oh no, I trust myself. I trust my magic. I trust my power that it's gonna work out. It's gonna I'm
Yeah.
gonna figure something out. You know,
Right.
that's a really underrated piece of
Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of like should be the goal, right? If you're stepping in
totally
practice, is like to get to a place where like anytime you're in a situation where maybe you're like, okay, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I know as much as I can do, I'm going to pull out all the stops, and I know it's going to work. My only issue now is like just like not lusting for results and just like letting it be whatever it's going to be. Like,
right.
you know, when I go on stage, like, is there a chance that like something could go wrong on stage, like somebody could knock something over? Like, yeah, but like that's not my concern, you know. And I think people always want things to be perfect, or they do spells to like beat out all the competition, and that's not even really what you need to do. You just need all of the things that make you special and unique to be highlighted and seen aggressively, and let everything else be what it's going to be, because
Yeah.
you might be the right fit and they might choose someone else for some other random reason that you'll never know. But as long as you trust exactly what you said, that my magic is potent and I'm bringing that energy, and you're welcome, like that I brought this energy and I'm walking away, and whether you want to take me or not, this is just a pleasure to be able to remind myself of that magic, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think it's really cool that you're an actress. Again in LA, you know, like I had a lot of friends who were actors and actresses, and it was a lot of time like, oh, I have this like, or like, do you have a spell to give me this audition or whatever? And it's kind of like that's kind of like the same thing when people ask, I you know, I want to win the lottery. Can you do,
Yeah.
you know? And it's I mean like not to that extent, but it's like
But still, yeah.
yeah, it's just kind of like that's not the way it works. Like I could heighten your odds.
Yeah.
That's what I can do. But, you know, like I'm not going to get you the job.
Right.
And
You're
if
gonna
I
do the job.
yeah, you're going to get you the job and like the other people on the other side of that table reading the lines for you, like they might not be as impressionable as like or like they might not be impressionable to the point that like my magic can like you know,
Penetrate them as well. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
exactly.
It might
So
help you. And that's why I said, like, don't fixate on like worrying about other people, which is like kind of like the point of like glamour magic is not necessarily to like pretend, but it's just to highlight what's already there, which is why people wear makeup. You know, it's not to like hide, it's only even to accent the beauty that's there. And if you don't have the confidence in that anyways, you know what I mean, then
yeah.
you could do a spell, but if you don't know your lines, or if you like walking in, you're second guessing yourself, or if you're so worried about what they're looking for that you don't just do what it is that you feel led to do in that moment, like of course you're not going to get it. And it's not about the magic, like
Right.
that's you know.
Yeah. And that's why you chose the Glamour Witch.
Well, yes.
I love that name. I love it. And I think it's funny that I get a lot of people, you know, oh, make a video about glamours. And I'm like, I feel like I one of the biggest reasons I haven't made it is because I know that like a large enough percentage of people are gonna be like thinking that I'm gonna pull something out of the craft where I'm like, ooh, I'm blonde now. Like, you know, like,
They always think that, like, what?
like I have blue eyes, and you're like,
Those are called contacts.
yeah. I'm like,
You
yeah,
can
my
do
mom
all those
didn't give me
things.
those.
Yeah, it's well, you know, the name kind of came about as like, you know, I feel like there's always like this negative, and I made a post about this recently, like there's this negative connotation about like the way witches like are perceived, especially in the like music or the movie industry. They're like old and they're like hunched over with like one like, you know, crazy eye, and like, you
I'm like,
know,
oh,
oh, welcome to the lab.
eat the apple, dear. You're like, oh God,
I'm like, damn, like, can we get some really like beautiful, like
hot witches.
sexy ass, you know, like, yes, some hot witches, and like, not just like the stereotypical, like, unfortunately, like practical magic white witch who's like living in the country and has like an incredible house that nobody fucking has, or you know what I mean, like it, like how about like somebody who's just like a regular individual who likes to do makeup, who's a model, who's an actress, who's whatever, you know what I mean? Like these people who actually are everyday individuals, but know how to make their magic look good on them, on their style, on what they bring to the table. So the glamour witch was kind of like, yes, I like to dress up. I love a good gown. Okay. Cause I'm a singer. So, you know, I love a good moment, you know, love a good smoky eye, an iced lip, you know, I love that. But I also am very much into like infusing all of those things. Like my makeup is like charged with magic. Every single step, I spray my clothes before I go out, you know, with certain intention. Like every aspect is embedded with this energy. So I was like, that makes sense. Like, you know, I'm a glamorous witch, you know, so it's a little different. Yeah. I'm not like out foraging for berries. Like I live in the freaking city, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's a little bit more, it's like glamping, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, it is actually. Well, yeah, I know. Cause like, you know, you think witchcraft and you're thinking, a lot of the like folk magic, you know, it's all like jars and herbs and all this stuff. And by all means, I love that.
I'm loving that too.
Love it. But a lot of my magic day to day is not that. You know, like I love my candle magic, I love my herbs, I love like all of the tinctures and but that's not what it is. You know, like it is actually a lot of. I noticed what's funny is after I followed you, which was months, probably a year ago, but like I was thinking about it that like I actually do a lot of glamours and I don't know, I didn't even like notice, but that's so important. It's like the ritual. It's like getting up. Everybody gets up and like does something, right?
Yeah.
Like they get dressed. Like, why did you choose that? You know, they take a shower and whatever you're washing yourself with. It's just like, it really is like the little things that are all kind of combined into the one. And I honestly think that the only reason I haven't made that video is because I know I'm going to disappoint people.
Yeah. And I actually don't have very many videos on that because of the misconception, and I feel like it deserves its own like series of like talking, explaining like we're not changing our hair color. Like you can do that. You can you don't need magic.
Right. You don't need magic. I mean, you know? Would it be more eco-friendly? Would it be, you know, cheaper? Maybe. But until somebody figures out how to do that,
like,
I guess it's the guy for me.
Yeah, and I think too, like another thing is like people always assume that like you're doing it to like trick people. Like there's also a negative side of it, which is like, I'm like making you think that I look this way. Because if you even like in TV shows, it's like a glamour spell to make someone look really beautiful, but then underneath they're like ugly, you know, like really ugly. And it's like, that's not even like what that is. You know what I mean? It's not to like trick people. It's really to just like mesmerize them by what's, you know, already there.
Yeah. Well, and that's the whole thing with, it's like makeup does that.
Yeah,
I can see my face structure with makeup, and you're gonna, you know, like whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would do that a lot. You know, like you charm your lipstick for like more persuasive speaking, or like to get your point across, for your words to stick more. And you know, you again, I think it's also to glamour's the only negative side, or the most popular negative side that I hear of it, is exactly what you said of, you know, kind of like tricking people into thinking they're seeing something that they're not. And that's not true. It's just, like you said, heightening those things. But also, like, I made a post on this earlier that was like, you can use anything that's used for good can also be used for bad, and vice versa. It doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
And even if it's like most popular in one of the two of the sides, you can use anything for both things. And glamour, you know, like I can use my lipstick to seem more persuasive, or like make sure that my words are sweet today because I've been feeling spicy. Or you know, or you can like charm it and make your words more venomous.
Yeah. So that lands. So when you come like that person, that it hits.
And sometimes, and the thing is, sometimes that's necessary. Rarely, but sometimes it is.
But sometimes it is. Sometimes it be necessary.
Yeah.
People need that, you know.
I, for one, would be 110% here for a glamour series, though. If you ended up making one, like,
Oh yeah, I
Please.
definitely wanted to do like a series on like how to like enchant your like makeup and cosmetic, and how to like wash your brushes in like magical like waters and stuff like that. So you're not
Oh,
just like cleaning it, but like
I didn't even think of that. Oh my God, make this series. Do it. I'm
yeah.
putting
Oh, I
that
got
up. Other
these
stuff
up
it.
too.
That's what I
Absolutely.
need from you.
Yeah. So good.
See, and that's like what I love so much is I need more practitioners like bigger on YouTube because I that right there I was like I didn't even think of like washing it in something magical. I was just like putting it on the sink with shampoo. Like I don't even like use brushes most of the time, but like when I do, like when you're washing it, just get it off. I didn't
Right.
even think about adding that extra step.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's so many things that you can like, so much stuff that you can like utilize. Like, for me, like I said again, like crystal energy is some of the most like such a like simple way to harness magical energy for your spells and rituals that I feel like people really take for granted, because the crystal already has energy. Like it's already doing its own thing. Like it doesn't need you to tell it what to do because it already has a vibration. But once you explain to it, like, hey, like, I see you, rose quartz, see you looking cute, but I want you to do this. It's gonna be like, okay, cool, I can do that, and I'm gonna stay that way until you tell me to do something else. Like it's a computer. It literally will take in that information. So not using it in your spell works, like, because sometimes when we're doing a spell, we get caught up in our own feelings, whatever, and our vibration starts to kind of like go out of whack. But the crystals don't abide by our ego, so they kind of bring it back down to that space, or center it back to the vibration that you want for your manifestations. So I mean, it's just like I could go nuts.
Please do. I actually don't. I don't use. I don't use crystals. Like, I mean, eh, you know, but there's something about it. Like, I don't know what it is that I feel like I almost have a disconnect with them, and I want to connect with them because they're so pretty, and I can see the potential of the usage, right? Like, I can see where I can get creative with them, but I've never really understood like how to utilize them best. Like usually it's just kind of like, oh, I'm just gonna like keep it under my pillow or like carry it with me or put it
Yeah.
on the top of my tarot card. Like other than that, I don't like actively use them, and that's like on my long ass list of things to learn.
And that's
So
what's great. It's like all those ways are great ways to use crystals, and I think that I get like, again, my Aquarius brain, like how do I take this thing, I'm like in the lab, and there's like lightning and I'm
yes.
figuring it out, and I get very mad scientist about it. But like I was just talking to somebody recently, and I was like, found this like witchcraft cocktail book, and like how to make potions and like I know it's like so cool.
All right, so you're gonna have to link me that
I will because I bought it
immediately.
today. I was like, I had it on the Kindle, but I was like, no, I need the book. I need the physical copy.
Mhm.
So like I was thinking about it, and they were like making all these different like cocktails associated with zodiac signs or whatever, and I was like, that's so cool. But like how, like what if you put a crystal in it? Then I was like, then it went a step further, and Spirit was like, what if you made a like wine glass where in the center of it you've like connected it to the glass, so there's always like a small crystal at the bottom of the glass that's charging any beverage that you like put into the glass.
Do you see how like I'm a,
Like, oh, this is
oh
genius.
my God. It's that meme where like it's like the head and it just like keeps getting more and more enlightened. I'm like, oh my God.
It's just like so amazing. So then you could take this magical cocktail, you already have like a clear quartz crystal in the glass, and then boom, like you can charge it, bless it, activate it with whatever your intention is. It's literally charging the liquid as it is in the container. It's just like so amazing. Like,
So what you're saying is when I come back to LA, we're gonna have a witch party where the bartender is gonna be like witching it up and charging all of the drinks in these drinks that you're gonna create and create your own business line of, right? That's what
yeah,
you're saying?
that is
That's what
exact.
I'm hearing.
And I also actually know a wizard who's also a bartender. So there you go.
You already have the connection. Oh my God. Which party? Which LA party? I've never been to an LA party.
Look, we're figuring it out.
They look bougie, and I want to do it.
Yes.
Once.
I'm all about that witchy bougie vibe.
Yeah, I'll get all my pole dancer friends.
Yes, can we please?
Yes.
Way better.
Hey, you good. All of my sex workers, I'll be like, I got you, girl. You keep all those tips. Oh my God, this is gonna be great.
I love it.
Sorry.
Like, this is happening. Y'all heard it here first.
Yeah. Ooh, I want to make this happen. It'd be a witch retreat.
Witch retreat. You know what? I had a dream about that recently, like having like a huge, with like all the like spiritual and witchy people in the community like coming together, and like, oh my gosh, it would be so much
It'd be
fun.
so cool because then they could each teach their own thing, and like, oh, it'd be so cool.
I like it. I like it.
Yes.
Manifesting, putting that out into the universe.
It's happening. It's happening. Oh my God. Yeah, I've thought about that a lot. Just like in passing of like, oh, this would be really cool. But every time I bring it up, everybody's like, you know, broken. They're like, oh God. And I'm like, I know it would be so cool. And it could be like, you know, in different places that are more accessible, you know, like not like we're going to be in Bali's, and you're like,
yeah,
I can't afford that. Yeah, I think that'd be really fun though.
Yeah, I definitely am down. I'm on board.
Okay, so you've been taught how to work with crystals. You've worked with them forever. I want to know if you know any like very big misconceptions with working with crystals, or anything that you see a lot, if that's a thing. I like to debunk things. So if you know, if you have you're like you see something on the internet and you're like, ugh, because I can tell you one thing of a crystal thing.
Yeah, go ahead. What's one thing?
I was on Etsy and they were selling selenite yoni eggs.
Oh no.
And like wands. And I was like, no. I was like, what are you doing?
Oh my God.
Connoisseur, but ain't nobody putting fiberglass up in there.
Oh my gosh. Talk about disintegrating.
Oh my gosh. No, there's no way.
Yeah, so that's a big one, right? Like knowing what your crystal can do, like, and where, like, what environments it shouldn't be in. Like, 'cause some crystals will dissolve in water, which can be great if you're making like a potion, but also really bad if you're trying to stick it in places it should not be stuck. So yeah, I mean, that's like a big one. I see that happen a lot. People like, it's like, oh, I cleanse my selenite in in water or whatever, or like put these two crystals together, and you know, it's just like you got to know the actual chemistry of the crystals, because they are, I mean, science doesn't just like evaporate because we're doing magic, you know what I mean? Like, if anything, like science is just like a way to explain the magical things that happen in the universe, and doesn't even really do a great job, but that's another conversation.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But you know, yes, the selenite is one. I think another one is just like people assume that you buy the crystal and then you just set it, and then you set it down someplace next to you or whatever, and never have a relationship with it, and then like it just does whatever it's supposed to do. And it's like, no, it's the same thing when you're doing like herbs, or when you're doing a candle. Like, you're putting your intention in it, you're like communicating with it, you're having this relationship, you know, and you're also listening, because the crystal, as much as it will take in whatever it is that you want it to do, it also is meant to open you up to higher, you know, levels of learning and communication with the divine and spirit, and whatever it is that crystal specific energy is good for. So if you're not aware, like, I mean, it's one thing, like, do your research on the crystal. There's too much like resources out there not to do your research on a crystal.
Right.
Understand like how to meditate with it, you know, like spend some time holding the crystal, if it's a pendant or a ring, you know what I mean? Like, talk to it, like have a connection with it for a couple of days so that it can like mesh with your energetic field. Don't just like set it down someplace and be like, okay, it's doing its job.
You do you. Good luck.
You know, and I always say, like, the universe is not a microwave. Like, you got to do your work. You know what I mean? You can't just like stick it in and just be like,
Wait,
set it and set it, you
I
know,
got
like
this crystal and now it's gonna fight my sleep paralysis demon. It's gonna be great.
exactly. Or this is gonna bring me my divine partner. Like I'll have to just set it next to like my books or something, you know. No strategic understanding of like how to use it. So I think when people go places, you know, to buy crystals, it's just as important as it is to like know what the crystal does. It's also important for you not to just like buy it and then like toss it into a drawer someplace. Like use it, like own it. Like this is now like a friend. This is like a pet now. You know what I mean? You're maybe not feeding it the same way, which you technically are feeding it. You're cleansing it. You're taking care of it, but you know, have like a connection with it because one day that crystal is not going to be around. Because we all know there's like that one day you cannot find that crystal that you always had because it just
Or it just breaks.
exactly. And that's something else too. People don't understand like crystals can also store too much energy. If you don't like cleanse it, they will like separate themselves. They'll shatter.
Girl, the amount of hematite jewelry that I have.
Oh, hematite. Oh yeah, people don't know that it's actually really easy to break hematite.
They are. Yeah, I mean, just in general, because I mean, there's times that I've like hit my hand on something and it's shattered, and I'm not gonna be like, ha, deep, like that's not.
Right, exactly.
It was just kind of like, oh, shit, or like I would try to pole dance with it and
Yeah.
what are you doing, but like necklaces, bracelets, even like not the it's like the long kind. It wasn't like the circles.
Yeah.
Uh, like the string snapped, fell, and all of them just every single one shattered in half.
Yeah.
And I was
Sounds
like,
like
oh,
that. This is like spirit was like, no
yeah.
more.
It was
You've
like,
gone as far as you can go.
I don't want to deal with your life.
Right. And who knows, like you broke it, like shattered, maybe like went on the floor, maybe you're outside or something like that. And you leave it there, right? Like, cause it's like, what are you gonna do? And that crystal like gets an opportunity to like not be in that energy anymore and cleanses itself. And then one day somebody walks by that same exact area and all those little crystal pieces are right there. And that is like something that they needed to charge themselves and heal themselves. Like you have no idea how the universe is like timing everything. So like, you know, it's all good. Like people like freak out. I get people message me like, I had this really great like protection amulet, like crystal thing, and it broke. And it was like,
Yeah.
it's okay. Like don't don't panic. You know, sometimes it's just it's like, you know, when your pet, unfortunately, when your pets pass away, like you're not gonna be there forever, but you enjoy them while they're in your life and you make those memories, which is why it's so important to have that connection with your stone.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think I really like the way that you put it, kind of like it's recycled. And we all talk about death and life and things like that of just like, oh, well, it's, we're energy. We're recycled and renewed. And I think when it comes to tools, especially because as practitioners, like we do become very we do identify ourselves with our tools a lot of the time, which I even do that with a lot of my items, but like it's really hard to just allow yourself to be like, that's fine. Because I had a teacup that tiny little teacup that I got at some thrift store, and I loved that thing. Like I would always use it when I was writing my grimoire. Like it was like a very personal item to my craft. And we were cleaning out our cabinets,
No.
and my boyfriend's like, he was like, "Oh, I think I was just not listening," and that was on me. I wasn't listening, and it's like, "Oh, do you even use this one?" And I thought like he was holding two, and I was like, "No."
No.
He threw it away, and it wasn't even like gave it away. He like threw it away. I was like,
Oh
"No."
man.
I know. I was like so upset. Um, but like
Yeah.
I lived,
Yeah,
and I got
exactly.
a new one actually. Like somebody gifted me a new one recently, and like it's just these things kind of go, and this one is like almost like a evolution, like my power, my Pokemon like evolved or something.
Right,
Like how
exactly.
I, how I felt, because the other one was just like some cute one that I found at the thrift store. This one was, a friend saw it, thought of me, gifted it to me as a going away gift, and like that means a lot. And it's a divination cup, which is
Oh,
like
Ooh,
I know.
no.
I've never
Don't tell me. You know me.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, I've never had one of these. So, it's like, oh, my Pokemon have evolved, but
Yeah,
it
exactly.
took a few years and like, I don't know. I just think that that was a long-winded way of just being like things change.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
at the same time, it's like it is something that, it's very much a part of the practice is being able to let things go and like understand the cycles of what like life is. And as hard as it is, because we're humans and we get so caught up in our creature comforts, it's like sometimes the universe has to remove those things to make space for the new. And if you're like constantly clinging to the things that you can't, like you're so used to having this thing that you don't want to, expand past that, you'll never be able to see what's available and what's out there for you. So I mean, it's like a life lesson that everyone's constantly learning, whether you're a witch or any other,
Over and over.
letting go, letting go and letting goddess,
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, good things died for better things to come, and that's such a nice way of putting some really awful things that can happen, and
Life is hard, man. Like now
oh,
and
girl, yeah,
oh,
2020, yeah.
2020, what a year of 2020 vision, clarity on really what the heck is going on.
Mhm.
It's never been so abundantly clear how much work is still needed on this planet.
Mhm.
This, whew,
And
man.
I hope the only bad thing that can come out of this is if we don't change.
Yeah.
That's I honestly believe that the only bad thing that can come out of this is if we do not change.
I just don't see how we could like how we couldn't. I feel like with the type of like upheaval and just constant bombardment of like trauma and like just shocking activities happening all the time, like that's just like an incubator for change. Like there's just
Mhm.
no way. And we also are in the age of Aquarius, which is like all about like innovation and tearing down what was to create something new and opening the door for higher levels of education. And so all that comes with like destruction, and people just think that revolutions are like, yeah, we're just gonna all come together and sing a song and hold hands and everyone's going to feel good about it. Like it's like sometimes things got to get real bad. Ish has got to hit the fan. That
Mhm.
ish got to fly around. Everybody got to get splashed with it in their own way.
Get
You
some
know
blood
what?
in there. Oh
We got
God.
to clean. We got to clean it up. You know what I mean? We got to figure out who threw it. There's a
Yeah.
lot of
Who threw it? Who did it
threw
in the first place is the biggest question.
it. Exactly. And I think this has been like such a great year for like internal maintenance. Like for the
Oh.
first time the entire planet got a chance to like pause. We all had to literally take like a break,
Mhm.
and look what it did for the planet, like all of a sudden like the air is clear and like animals are like having a good time, and
Animals are like, oh, they
we don't need y'all.
don't anymore. Huh?
Well,
Kind of nice.
kind of nice. I'm kind of liking the vibe.
I know they're like, there is a significant less amount of plastic bags everywhere all of a sudden. I like this look. This is
Wow.
good.
The water is clear.
Yeah, they were like, oh wait, no, just kidding. They're replaced by
They're back.
yeah, it's fine. Oh
Right.
God.
Yes.
I think we're coming up on 45 minutes,
Okay.
so I'm gonna end this one here. We're gonna have to say goodbye to my lovely audience, and then I'm going to bring you straight over to my Patreons.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Thanks for coming on and talking,
Thank you
everybody.
for having me.
Like I said in the beginning, all of her links to find her are all down below. She's wonderful. Definitely go check those out. Give her some love. I will see you next week, and as always, best of luck. Be kind to each other, and may your gods treat you as you've treated others. Bye.